Hey everybody, Texas Stroker here, Lance of Performance Shop Lone Star Mopars. Quick video today. We're going to be reviewing something that I hope will be very beneficial to me in my troubles with fuel, and that is going to be a really nice canister fuel filter. You can see the assembled product here. Long story short, ever since I started putting the ethanol in the gas, I've had trouble with carburetors. Hence, we've got accelerator pump diaphragm, switching over to alcohol-based stuff. Everything we can do. The ethanol tends to gum up the old little canister style filters I run. Don't think I have one on the bench, but I'm running the best you can get, or inline I should say, and it's just to a point where I'm ready to just remedy the situation, and I'm hoping this does it for us. So what I have selected to hopefully remedy this situation, it comes from TrickFlow. As you can see, it is a very nice canister filter. Their part number is going to be, that'll focus, TFS-23006. That's the same part number at Summit where we picked it up. As you can see there, Billet Canister Fuel Filter. Price at Summit Racing is $69.97. Let's go ahead, I guess, and take a look at what's in the box. Now, the way this comes, it's pretty basic, pretty simple. You get a bag, and inside bag one, we're going to have the fuel filter. So let's go ahead and open it up, take a look at it. One of the other things that I really like about this is just the aesthetics of it. It's kind of just like a satin finish with the black, sort of an anodized finish up top, which granted, sadly, you don't really see when we're going to mount it on the rear frame rail, but if you put it on your firewall somewhere else, you might be able to take advantage of that. You can pick up a couple other, name brands. You can get Summit Jegs. Lots of speed houses have their own canister style filter, might be a few bucks cheaper. But they are almost all that like off red anodized finish and bright chrome polish, and I don't like that. And truth be told, when you look at the important thing, which is the price of the replacement filter, they're roughly about the same. So I went ahead and decided to spring for something that I would actually like the looks of a bit better. And of course, with TrickFlow getting in on the Mopar scene with the new heads, I've kind of wanted to try out some of their products. Anyway, so here we are. This is what the filter looks like. Nothing fancy, just very well designed, very slick. And again, you could tool up some mounts if you wanted to, but they do include one for us. That said, just roughly to help you out, top to bottom, this thing's going to measure about 6.125, 6.125 inch. Overall outside diameter 3.250, so fairly compact. Again, this has so much more volume though than our inline filters most of us are probably running. That's really where I think I'm going to see the advantage. Similarly, the inline filters I run with the centered bronze element that come apart and you can replace, they were great back in the day when I didn't have, black tar gumming everything up in the fuel. They can't handle the pressures of fuel injection. If I were to say drop a Phytech unit on or go with a Holley Terminator, this does not have to be replaced. This thing, believe it or not, can handle a max PSI of 2,000. It flows 1,500 pounds an hour, and better yet, despite being a 3/8 MPT, some of you might be used to, the high-end race stuff, running half-inch lines, etc. You're going to see less than a 1 PSI drop as it runs through this cycle. It is important to point out, and a lot of people don't pay attention to this, but there is a flow arrow here, and that is critical. That means that you're going to come in on this side, come out on this side, hence the flow is going to be going from the tank to the carburetor. So align that arrow with the fuel injection or carburetor on your vehicle. Again, a lot of times people think they're reversible. A lot of things are. This is not one of those cases. I am fine with that. When it flows through here, it is going to be going through a 10 micron filter. I do want to point out here the bottom nuts, in case you do have to swap your filter element out. This is going to fit a 1-inch socket, 1-inch wrench, whichever you prefer to use. It is somewhat cumbersome to take apart, but it can be done, and obviously you want it to be tough to take apart for one reason. That's going to be a sign that there's going to be fewer leaks that you'll have to deal with. I would rather have a difficult time pulling the canister apart to replace the filter than I would actually having leaks all the time, which would not be a good scenario, particularly in the back below a fuel cell. So let's see here. Bottom nut is 1 inch. They do include, we'll set this down real quick, they do include a bracket for us. It is basically 3/16 thick, very lightweight. I believe it's aluminum. Yes, it is. And it is going to measure 2.5 on one side, 2 inches long on the other. So if you've got a scenario where you really want it to be far away from your frame rail, you can situate it like so. If you've got a situation where you need to drop it down or bring it up type of a thing, you can use the short 2-inch side and have the 2.5 as your vertical mount, whichever you prefer. Also included in the final bag, you have 2 pieces of hardware. You've got the bolts and the lock washer. So the lock washers obviously will just rest against you know, the bracket and the canister. There's no actual directions. Probably don't need them. Some people might, but essentially finished product will look just like back there. We'll show it here in a second. If you care, they're 5/16 by 7/16 Allens, but what that means to the most of you watching, you're going to need one of these, or a hex key 1/4 inch is what you'll need to be able to install that. Of course, mounting it to your frame rail, firewall, whatever you're going to be sticking the other side of the mount to, that will be up to you. I'm fine with that. Would be nice if they include generic, you know, hardware, but it'll work. The back side, it's interesting, kind of varies between the Charger and the Duster, but roughly, if you just want to ballpark it, try to get some bolts when you're out on the town before you have the filter or you're installing it. Bank on about 2 inches for your frame rail section, unless you're putting it really far towards the front, sort of by your you know, rear cross member or something. It kind of thickens a little bit there. If it's anywhere basically back behind the shocks, if you factor in 2 inches, the 3/16 there, maybe pick up, you know, a 2.5, 3 inch. They do make 2 3/4, but you pay more for them, so sometimes it's actually cheaper, more cost effective for you to maybe buy a 3 or a 3.5 and then cut the threads off on the back side. So we'll be dealing with that shortly. I believe we have covered everything here that I wanted to. I do, however, want to again stress a couple of things. 1-inch nut here, we've covered the mounts. 3/8 inch NPT, so female threads. That means that this is what most of us are going to want if you're just running a rubber hose. You can run a lot of the you know, push lock stuff with clamps. If you actually email the manufacturers, they will usually confirm that. Some of them no, most of them yes. You might want to check with whatever brand of hose you're running. Of course, maybe some Teflon tape if you want to go the extra route, and maybe use anti-seize. Whatever you usually do that achieves leak-free results, that's what you'd want to do. But again, very simple. The reason this is so nice, and you can just run this barbed end, you don't have to do any expensive AN stuff. If you want to do it, you can, but if you don't want to, this is a great easy way out. Just for your reference, and what we've got there, these are very cheap. I think less than $3 maybe. Summit G3116 3/8 NPT barb fitting. Batteries died, but 1 pack of these will set you back all of $5.97. That'll be cheaper in most cases in your local parts store or speed shop. So if you're ordering this in, might as well plan ahead, get this taken care of as well. But that's what's in the box. We've got the filter, we got the mounting hardware, we've got the brackets you can kind of invert. Again, the fittings do not come. Again, that's kind of trick flow, letting you pick whether you go AN or keep it simple. So plan accordingly when you order this. Again, save yourself some time and money on freight. But now what we want to do, I believe we've covered all the pertinent details on it. We will actually come in and take a look at kind of roughly a mock-up, if you will, of the final assembly. So it looks really, really nice. Again, for my color schemes, this is perfect. Not a fan of the off red color, as I mentioned, you see with most of the other manufacturers, and of course like the spin-off sort of, you know, knocked off type deals. So the black and the satin look really well. They're going to tie in nicely. If you want to hide this camouflage a little more, just shoot it black, spray bomb it, whatever you need to do. If you do that, make sure you cover the ports. You don't want any paint in there. But check it out. You can, of course, flip it either way, depending on how you're going to mount it. But this gives you an idea. It's just a loose assembly, but we've got our barbed fittings on each side. Again, 3/8 NPT. Very simple, very easy to procure. We went ahead. This is how they had it in their brochure. I'll probably actually mount it the other direction. I'm more concerned with the height as opposed to the distance from the frame rail. So, again, if this is your frame rail, obviously the 2.5 here pushes it out farther. If we were to switch this around, 2 inches would bring it in about like so. And of course, if you want to, you can come in, you can probably find like some trick billet collars that you might have for other things that you could mount it in that manner. It's whatever you want to do. How simple or how complex you want it is entirely your prerogative. That said, one more important thing here, and I would recommend you do the same thing. It's always better to have the replacement parts than to need them and have to wait on them. This is not something that you're probably going to find at your local parts store. Maybe a speed shop, but let's be honest, most of us don't have someone that's going to stock this. Can they order it for you? Yes, but sadly you will pay more than if you had planned ahead and bought it now. So this is TFS-RF006. Love what they did here. Element kit for 23006, which is that part number. Another thing that I'm liking about TrickFlow, what would the RF possibly be? Replacement filter, right? Works out well for me. So it's a little telltale signs, as you can tell when a company is kind of with it. But inside that canister filter, this is what we have. This is our 10 micron filter. Looks very, very nice. The price on this thing, $21.99, so not too shabby. Again, I've actually got two of these, obviously one for the charger, one for the duster. Picked up the two spare elements. And if you're ever in a situation like that where you're trying to kind of upgrade your fleet, if you go with the same parts, particularly if you know you like them, it makes stocking replacements way more cost effective and advantageous to you. So keep that in mind. I'm hoping I love these. Again, I'm using the little, I've stepped up to the Russell ones. They don't really exceed the PSI. It's just the centered bronze, but just like the inline filter from the dual feeds on the Holly, it gets gummed up with this gas. Particularly if you're like me, you'd like to drive your old cars all the time, but you can't. It's just not, you know, super practical. You don't have as much free time. The longer that ethanol gas sits, the worse it gets, and I've had nothing but nightmares with it. It's progressively gotten worse. I don't know if they're slowly increasing the quantity or the blends change or something, but it's been a nightmare. That's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm looking towards fuel injection. When you want to drive the car and you can't because you have carburetor parts failing from the ethanol, it really sucks. So this will hopefully alleviate that. And again, for 70 bucks, I have to say this is a pretty good piece. It's gonna last me forever. The only thing that would go wrong is if TrickFlow goes out of business. I can't pick up replacement filters. Someone on the aftermarket would probably have something similar size we could maybe plug in, but truth be told, this is the best aesthetic option for me, and I am very, very hopeful that it will solve some of my issues with the fuel. And more beneficially, again, touched on this earlier, if you're like me and maybe you're slowly building up, trying to ease your way in towards the fuel injection that's becoming ever more cost affordable, this is a nice stepping stone piece because it can stay in place. It's not going to be thrown away cash. You didn't buy a really nice filter that's good to 8 PSI, only to find when you go fuel injection, you're going to blow the thing up. This will handle the pressures of fuel injection just fine, so it is a very solid foundation piece to build upon. So, and also if you're like me and you're just sick of those like generic off red anodized pieces, this is pretty sinister looking. I like the looks of it, and hopefully it performs well for us. So big increase in volume versus the inline filters. I can't wait to get it on, see if we notice an improvement. If you'd like to see the installation video, let me know. I'm going to try to order my stainless. A little overboard, yes, but when I do things, I try to do them right and try to do it to where I don't have any trouble with them down the road. So the price difference between a grade 5 bolt and a stainless bolt is not that big of a deal. Lumber yards, yes, if you've got a hardware store, a dedicated like bolt supplier, like if you were going to buy in bulk thousands of bolts, you know, or something at a time, go there. A lot of times if you come in and you say, hey, I need two, you know, 3/8 by 3-inch stainless bolts, and I want, you know, 3/8 16 stainless nylocks for them, you're getting 4 pieces at a lumber yard. Or if you order them online, you might spend 12 bucks on that crud. That's a ripoff. The prices that you could get at that local bolt store gonna be way cheaper. More importantly though, a lot of times it's not worth their time to charge you for that stuff. They'll give it to you. I see it all the time at my local bolt stores. Old hobbyist guys come in, people needing 2 of something, or you know, 18 inches of aviation cable. It's like, here you go. And it's a goodwill gesture, and they think, hey, this guy's going to tell his friends, he's going to come back, he's going to buy from me, not go to Home Depot or Lowe's. But whatever you can do, make it happen. And like I said, if you do want to see this installed, either the whole video or just kind of a review after the fact, I'll be glad to do so. Currently waiting on some more parts. I'm going to get some other stuff installed at the same time, but I can't wait to get them on. I will keep you posted on the forum, LoneStarMopars.com. If you got any questions, best bet is to post up there. That said, I hope you enjoyed. Hit the like button if you did. If you've used this filter and have any feedback, let me know. If you've got another filter that you love, feel free to post that up. That way, hopefully, people having the same issues we're having can come in, watch the video, then see the comments, kind of see where other people are going, and hopefully pick a part that will help them keep their car out on the road. So, of course, this will work for anything. It's just a fuel filter, but I try to keep it Mopar-based. So, that said, I can't wait to get this thing on. Not a bad deal in my opinion. Basically, canister filter and a replacement filter. You can get it done for around 90 bucks. Not a terrible deal considering the life cycle they get out of them. So again, TFS-23006 Summit Racing was my source. I'll get it installed here pretty soon, and I will see you back here in the shop for more from Lone Star Mopars.